Stephen Speak, a podcast about everything and nothing. Don't forget to subscribe. Hello, welcome to Stephen Speak, episode number 2. Don't know why I'm so excited about that. I do know why I'm excited about that, because I've recorded a second episode. So I'm on the road to actually sticking with something. And, yeah. And it's made me feel good. To be fair, I really enjoyed doing episode 1. Had some pretty good feedback, to be honest. So thank you for everyone that's contacted me, messaged me, etc. and give me some feedback. So, yeah, I'm feeling good. The first one was a little bit here and there. Like, I always expected it to be a little bit here and there, but it was maybe a bit more here than there, or here and there, or wherever, than I kind of expected it to be. So, I'm not going to try and steer away from that too much, because that's kind of how I am, as I've said before. So, I'm going to try and keep with that format. The whole release every 2 weeks thing may change. I'm looking at that because I've enjoyed doing it so much. The 2 week gap for me is a bit long. I've been wanting to like record one sooner or just do extra things while things are running through my brain. So what I've come up with the concept of is maybe keeping it bi-weekly, so one episode every 2 weeks, but interfilling the gaps with like shorter podcasts. And I'm thinking about calling them Extra Speak. So Stephen Speak, Extra Speak. Sorry, that was my watch going off in the background. Note to self, put all your stuff onto airplane mode before you start recording a podcast. It was a good notification, though. It was telling me that I've completed some exercise, which is unusual for me. Anyway, yeah, so I'm looking at doing like an interspersed podcast called Extra Speak, which will be shorter episodes. So I'm looking at my main episodes being anywhere from like 20 to 40, 45 minutes, depending on what the content is. And the interspersed ones only being like maybe 5 to 10 minutes long. Like, you know, so if I'm out and about and inspiration hits me, I may do an on-the-fly sound recording and submit that as a podcast. You know, so they maybe a bit more realistic rather than, I would say, overproduced, but I'm stood in a bedroom at the moment, so yeah, but a little bit more realistic, maybe on the fly, some like just notes, like proper random things. So anyway, on to this week's episode. I've not really planned it, if I'm honest with you. I just have like a theme board that's in front of me, and the thing I'm going to talk about isn't even on there, which is really helpful, because it's just something that as I press record, I just thought, you know what, looking around my room, I'm a bit of a child, and that's okay. That's okay. So I'm going to talk a bit about like being childlike in some sense, but like, you know, just being imaginative, like using your imagination and keeping that kind of childlike essence. Because I think sometimes, you know, we're forced to grow up quite a lot, and kids nowadays, God, like, you know, when I was a kid, you know, I mean, I played with Action Men till I was 14, and that's probably a bit too old. But I did, and I'm not even embarrassed with that. I love Action Men, like, and I played with them till I was 14. I had lots of toys, and obviously still, I air quote and play, but I still play with Lego. But you know, that's something that I think people lose because they're hammered home, like, you know, you've got to grow up now, and you've got to do this, and you've got to do that, and you've got to go get a job, and you've got to be an adult, and you've got to pay tax, and you know, yeah, that sucks, doesn't it? So I think, for me, I've always been quite an imaginative person. Like, even when I was a child, like, I could quite easily just slip off into my own little world, and I'm sure my mum and dad and brother and anyone that knows me can imagine that of me, and maybe even have experienced that firsthand. I'm a bit like that now. Like, when the mood takes me, I'm feeling the right mood and in the right situation, I can drift off when I'm concentrating on something. But I also can get quite involved in my own thoughts. Some of them are realistically grounded, and some of them are quite fantasy-based. And I'm not mad, I don't think. I don't think that's like something that makes me like unusual. I just don't think it's something that people talk about. I may do things that some people don't do. Probably. I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe you'll listen to this and think, well, I do the same thing, Steve, but I'm not going to tell you about it. But yeah, when I was a kid, I used to set my play sets up in massive battle scenes, and I didn't really like people. I loved people to play with me, but not play with me, if you know what I mean. Because I still do, like in most things that I venture into, I have a very set idea of what I want it to be or how it's going to pan out. And so my playtime, even though it wasn't always 100% planned, it was probably 98.9% planned. So I'd set up, like, I had toys when I was younger. I obviously had Lego, but I didn't really play with Lego in this way, I suppose. But I loved micro machines. I had lots of micro machines, which, if you don't know what they are, they're like basically miniaturized Matchbox toys. So they're little tiny cars, little figures, and I had quite a lot of them. I used to collect them over the years and grew quite a collection. I've always liked miniature things, to be honest. Like, obviously, like Lego, things that you can build up, things that mimic real life but small. So I've always liked train sets and stuff, but I've never actually owned my own train set, which is weird. My granddad used to have N-gauge train set, and I used to love it because it's such like a micro size of model railway that I don't know. I've always felt like sorry, just hit the mic. I've always felt like a bit of a giant when doing that, and because I'm small in stature, maybe that was a weird thing where my brain kind of liked the miniaturization. Yeah, but I've always liked detail in small scale. So micro machines are a massive thing for me. So I used to set them up normally on the landing of where we used to live in the family home. It wasn't the first house I lived in. The first house I lived in was like a little terraced house. I don't really remember that too well because I was quite young when we moved. But what I would say is my home is the one I grew up in from about the age of 5, I think it was. And we had like a small landing area. It wasn't even like when you see in the films where they've got like a window seat or anything. It was literally like top of the stairs and a walkway to bedrooms. That's literally what it was. So I used to completely cover it in toys. I don't know why I didn't do it in my room, really, because when I was younger, I actually had the medium-sized room. So I probably had ample space to play in there, but I like to do it near the stairs, probably so I could overhear what was going on downstairs, if I'm honest, because I like to be involved. I'm not going to say I'm nosy now, but I like to be involved. So especially if there was people visiting, I could keep an eye out or keep an ear out, just know what was going on. Hate it. Really, really, what's it called? FOMO, fear of missing out. That was me as a child. Not so much now, as long as I've got something to do that occupies me. But when I was a kid, like, I would not go to bed. I would, I was terrible. God help when we have a baby, because me and my wife are both very similar characters, and our spawn is going to be the same. So it's going to be quite bad. Why is my watch still going off? I'm sorry, my watch has gone off again, and I've literally turned it off and told it not to make a noise. So, but I'm not editing that out, as I told you before. No editing. Anyway, so yeah, playing on the stairs, not playing on the stairs. Don't play on the stairs. That's a bad idea. My mum's Irish, and she used to tell me off, and it was a standing phrase in our house. Don't play on the stairs. I used to play on the mouth of the stairs on the landing. So yeah, I used to set up like battle scenes, and I used to use other toys to interact with the micro machine. So when I had my action men and stuff like that, so I took inspiration like from Attack of the 50-Foot Woman and when he blew up the kid. So I used to use my action men as like mutant aliens from Mars, and I used to get my felt tips out because they were wipeable, because I didn't want to ruin my toys. I always looked after my toys, so I used to draw stuff on the action men to make them look like aliens and stuff like that, and stomp them through the battleground. And I also had some toys called Manta Force. I had loads of Manta Force. Sound like a right spoiled get, but I went through phases, and I always kept the old toys. So I had boxes and stuff, but then I used to merge them together. So the Manta Force were like slightly, probably about, if you took the head off a Lego minifigure, they were probably that big. Like they were probably like an inch tall, maybe, the little figures. And there was a whole range of ships. It was good guys, bad guys. Yeah, I might do even a whole podcast just on my toys when I was a kid. But I used to play with them, and my imagination was mad. Like when I played, like, I got so into it. I'd do voices and I'd kind of imagine myself filmmaking, if you know what I mean. Which is, I don't know if that's weird for a child, but I'd kind of like use my eyes as cameras and like do sweeping shots and imagine explosions, and I'd get pieces of paper and rip them and make them into like flame shapes and explosion shapes and and design explosions and then put them on the battlefield. So I had a little an old ice cream tub full of them, and I'd place them around the battlefield. And I had a little red pen that if like a soldier got killed or injured, I could draw a red pen on them and they knew they were dead. But I always tidied it up at the end. Like at the end, I'd get a bit of water on a bit of kitchen roll, and I'd wipe them all down, ready for the next time, put them all away nicely, and yeah. So that that's what I did. But my imagination back then was so vivid, and that's the thing. And if anyone tried to come and join the play, I was okay with it, but I had to adjust myself because they couldn't act out what I wanted to act out because I knew I couldn't enforce all my ideas on them, and I didn't really want to. I wanted to keep them for myself. I wanted my idea of play to be mine. But I was quite happy to share my toys with people as long as they didn't break them. Like, if you respected my toys, like that's great. But I played differently with other people. I didn't. I didn't really go through the whole massive storylines, and probably restricted myself a little. Probably like put a bit of restraint on myself. But I love Manta Force. I love Might Machines. Lego for me was a little bit different. I used to play with my Lego in my bedroom, actually, weirdly enough, most of the time. Maybe that was a privacy thing for me. I've not really thought about that before, but maybe that was like a weird Lego is the ultimate. You cannot play with my Lego. And I'm kind of like that now, if I'm honest with you. Yeah, that's weird, actually. I've never really thought about that. Yeah. But even my imagination now is kind of carried on. I think that probably shows my creativity, music wise, and I've always liked writing and expressing myself and using my imagination. Probably to the detriment of myself sometimes because, again, I've said, drift off into little dreamscapes and stuff and probably not be fully concentrating on what I should be doing. But my imagination, as far as it goes, like what I'm going to share with you is you're probably going to think I'm mad and you'll laugh. And my wife Sarah probably doesn't even know some of the stuff I'm going to tell you. In fact, I know she doesn't because it's not really something I would tell people. Because is it embarrassing? Maybe a little bit embarrassing. I don't care. If you knew me, like I'm not a person that gets embarrassed very often. I get more embarrassed about things like if you call me out on something. Say, I know you should be doing something, and I react a bit badly to it, and then you go, "Oh, well, Steve, you should be doing that." I'd be like, "Oh, okay, then I probably should be doing that." I get more embarrassed for letting myself down and things like that. But extroverted things and making it's like tomfoolery and making a show of myself. Don't really get embarrassed about, to be honest. Probably takes a lot for that. Probably because I'm a bit showy in the right setting. I will sit back a little bit and be invisible but when the feeling or the need takes, I can throw myself center stage and not really feel too bothered. Anyway, so I'm quite imaginative even as an adult, and when I was a child, obviously you play and you pretend like cowboys and Indians. Me and my brother used to play cowboys and Indians. We used to play stuntman. Especially when we used to go to the ferry on the ferry over to Ireland, they used to have like a soft playroom, and it was always empty because it was like on one of the lower decks, and it was a bit of an arse to get to, and I think maybe some of the parents, didn't want the kids going down there or wandering off on their own. In later versions of the ferry, they moved it, and well, I think they got rid of it for a while, but then they brought it back. But yeah, it was literally just a big soft playroom. So I do remember vividly playing stuntman with my brother, where it was basically like he'd pretend to shoot me or say there was an explosion happening behind me, and we'd have to like do like a basically like a dying swan act and pretend we'd been shot and pretend to fall off a building but we were just jumping off these like foam shapes. But it was ace, like I felt like I was in a movie, and yeah, for me that was like the best fun ever, and it was some of the best times I've had with my brother because he's a bit older than me, so a lot of the time he didn't really want to play with me just because obviously that age gap. He's like 5.5 years older than me, so when I was like obviously born, he was already like a toddler, and then obviously by the time I got to the age where I could really understand and play, he was like going to junior school, so didn't want to be hanging out with his 5-year-old brother. And but there was an age where we got to. It was probably when he was maybe about 12, so he's still he's kind of showing me the ropes on things, but I'm old enough to do stuff and I'm capable of things. And yeah, we were going to Ireland on the ferry, and because my mum's from Ireland and she lives back there now, and we'd go regularly. We'd do this stuntman show, just throw ourselves around. It probably ended in tears because at some point we'd have had an argument and started hitting each other, because that generally happened with us. But yeah, that was ace. But I still do that now. Like, that's what I'm getting to. Like, and Sarah will probably crease herself if she listens to this, because what I'll do is if I'm running up the stairs, like for anything, like not, I can just be like, oh, I'll go upstairs and grab my watch or grab my phone or whatever. When I get to the top of the stairs, what goes through my head is, oh my God, there's an explosion happening behind me. And that might sound ridiculous and mental and stupid, but I pretend I'm doing a slow motion explosion sometimes. Not every time, but sometimes I get to the stairs and pretend I'm doing a slow motion explosion, like it's like a lift shaft behind me and there's flames coming at me and I'm an action hero. And if that makes me mad, then it makes me mad, but I don't care because it brings me joy. And all I can say is it's like the scene from Die Hard when Bruce Willis throws the bomb down the lift shaft and he's looking down and he goes, oh my God, and turns around and jumps away. That's what I'm imagining I'm doing at the top of the stairs. And sometimes I throw myself onto the floor. And I did it once when we first moved into the house we're in now. And again, Sarah will laugh at this, but I said I'd fell over because she heard, obviously, me thud on the floor. And she was like, oh, you're right. And I said, oh, yeah, I tripped up the last step of the stairs, and we laughed it off. But it wasn't at all. I got into it, and my imagination took over, and I proper threw myself down the landing as if I'd been blown up. Just want you to absorb that for a minute. But I regularly do things like that. And when I lived on my own, I had some Nerf guns. I used to run around my house with Nerf guns, firing at imaginary things. As if, again, I was like, I think I want to be Bruce Willis. Again, as if I was Bruce Willis in Die Hard. Yeah. It's the things that keep us sane, or make us weird. I don't know. Don't know where to go from there, actually. Maybe I should just end it now. I don't think I'm going to pick that, top that. Maybe I should just end the podcast now. That's it. I love pretending I'm being blown up, but surviving as an action hero in my own house, imagination, running wild. The end. So, turning from that to dreams. So, if I do that when I'm awake, imagine what my dreams are like. Exactly. They're mental. My dreams are so vivid. Not always making sense. Like, dreams don't always. Like, they'll flip from one thing to another. But they're normally hyper-realistic. And recently, the imagination in my dreams has had me fighting a lot of people. And I don't know where that's coming from. Maybe I'm angry and I don't realise it. I don't feel angry. Yes, but I've been fighting in my dreams a lot recently. So, well, by that I mean like actually fighting. Like, and Sarah's actually said to me that I've woke up and I've been like, I don't know if I've been like properly punching the air, but like fists clenched and ready to have a brawl. And that's not my personality. Like, in my life, I don't really think I've had a proper fight, to be honest. And that's not saying that I'm an expert fighter and it's over before it's begun. It's just that gone off on a tangent. Like, fighting's not great. Like, if you're a boxer and stuff, it's a sport, and agree with it or not, but you're doing it for a reason, or you box to keep fit or whatever. But just generally just causing a ruckus isn't well, it's just not cricket, is it, really? And I think every time I've ever been in a fight, there's either been like one punch thrown and then someone stopped it, or one punch thrown and that's just the end of it, or it's just never materialised into an actual fight. I'd like to say that I think I've been on the victory of a lot of one-punch wonders, let's call them. And I'm going to tell a story here because, while we're on the subject of one-punches, I'll come back to dreams in a minute, is when I was 8 years old, again, we were travelling to Ireland. We used to go on the train and catch the ferry from Stranraer, and we were changing trains, I think, at Carlisle, I might be wrong. It might have been Cruise Station, but I can't remember. And my brother was traveling with us. He must have been 13 because I was 8. I remember that much because that's relevant to the story. So you know what kids do. You go to a bar or anything like that, and you see kids on the arcade machines just mashing buttons. Well, at the railway buffet, like the cafe thing they have on the station, the buffet, that's the wrong word. Like the cafe they have on the station, they had like some gambling machines, so like fruit machines, and as all kids do, they try and play on them. But I think like one or two of them were turned off. There was only one that was actually functioning with lights. So I was bashing the buttons, pretending that I was doing stuff, and my mum was just like watching us, wouldn't cause any trouble. And I was a little bit away from mum. Mum was like the other side of the cafe, but she was fine. She knew me and brother were quite sensible, quite well behaved. And this other little lad came up, and I remember him having a mullet. Whether he did or not, that's just how my memory retains it. But I remember him having a little mullet, a little spiky at the front, front at the back, a little mullet. What do they call it? Business at the front, party at the back. That's what I was trying to say. Whatever. Anyway, he had a mullet, and he walked up to me, and he was trying to basically nudge me off the machine, and I was like, "Oh, excuse me," because I was very polite. I'm playing on the arcade machine. You can have a go in a minute. And he basically turned around and went, "No, this is my arcade machine, and you can piss off." He didn't actually say that because he was apparently 8 as well. So I said, "Well, that's not very fair." And I said, "You know what?" And as you do when you're a kid, you compare ages, don't you, straight away? And yeah, he just turned around and said, "Well, I'm 8 years old," and I said, "Well, I'm 8 as well." And he went, "Well, I'm a bigger 8," and I just punched him, like properly, just smacked him straight in the face. Because in my brain, I thought, well, he was goading me a little bit. There was a bit more to it than that. He was goading me a little bit, And but he kind of basically was like, "What are you going to do about it? I'm a bigger 8." And I thought, well, the only thing I can do, really, is just punch you. And that was not like me. That was completely out of character for me. I was very polite and quite shy. I have this, like, two sides of me. I can be quite shy and quite quiet, or I can be, like, annoying as hell and really chatty. And yeah, I just smacked him. I remember my brother's face. He was just like, "Holy crap, you're going to be in so much trouble." But that was awesome. And the little lad ran off to his mum. And when you're a kid and you realise you're doing something wrong, you immediately feel terribly sick. And you're like, "Oh, bollocks, this is going to go bad for me," Because you just know you're going to get back to your mum. And they're going to ask you what you did and why you did it. And, that wasn't right. And you know that already as a child, don't you? As soon as you do stuff, you know you've done wrong, but you don't need a lecture over it. And kids can't, even teenagers, they can't see their actions before they do it. And I don't know why I did it, but I just lashed out. But yeah. And the worst part was the little lad went back to his mum, and the kid's mum was an arse. And I just remember my mum wanted to hit her mum, I think. And then the worst of all, when our train came in, that was taking us like up to Scotland, is we had reserved seats and they had reserved seats like right next to us, and it was very awkward. But I felt pretty good, to be fair. I had won a fight. Well, it wasn't really a fight, was it? It was just a punch. But I felt like I'd achieved something in my life at that point. I'd defended my own position. I wasn't going to yield to someone bullying me. And he made faces at me the whole journey on the train, and I was just like, "Yeah, whatever, mate. I smacked you on." Anyway, went well off tangent about real life violence, and I'm talking about violence in my dreams and how my imagination is in my dreams. And yeah, but recently, like I'm like the other night, I dreamt that I was like a kung fu master, and I think I was trying to save Sarah. I'm not really sure because she kept moaning at me for defeating everyone in awesome style. But I was kind of like, I was kind of like a mixture of Neo and Jackie Chan, and I was doing all these mad moves, and yeah, there was just like endless people coming at me, and in different locations, and I was jumping out windows. Yeah, it was ace. It's one of them dreams like when you wake up, you think that was ace. I wish I could do that in real life, and the sad realization that you actually can't. But yeah, even though it's ridiculous, a kind of part of my brain is like, you're not a ninja warrior kind of thing. It's still like hyper realistic. It's very bizarre. And even the dreams that are like really out there, that kind of as you dream them, you're like, this is a dream. Like my dreams are really realistic and have some sort of sense in reality, if that makes any sense, as it's a complete contradiction. But yeah, and I don't always remember my dreams because they say, I think if you remember your dream, it's because you've been disturbed during REM sleep, and if you've completed like your sleep cycle, that's when you don't remember your dream. So you may have actually had a dream, because most people do dream, but if you don't remember it, it's because you've completed a full cycle where if you wake up in REM, you great band by the way. But if you wake up during REM, that's when you normally remember your dreams. But there was a time in my life as well that I could actually go back into my own dreams, which was ace, and I've not tried that in a while. Maybe I should try that at some point. But I used to have the ability when I was younger, and as an adult as well, to a degree, that if I woke up and went to the toilet in the middle of the night and I was having a super ace dream, I could get back into bed and think about that dream, and then I would start dreaming about it again. Now, I don't know if that's an actual talent. Well, it's not really a talent, is it? Whether it's actually a thing that people can actually do, or whether it was just completely coincidental. My brain was in that place at the time, and I could just start dreaming about the same thing. Yeah, but I've dreamt things that have been so vivid that I've woke up and didn't know where I was, because in my dream I was like on holiday or I was doing something else. And my dreams are sometimes, even though they're very wacky, my imagination's mental, sometimes they're very mundane dreams and very realistic. So it'll just be like us on a holiday sitting by the beach, like on the beach drinking beer, having a conversation, going getting changed for dinner and stuff like that. And they are super, super realistic, and things that could happen in real life, like weird conversations and stuff like that, and just like general chit chat. And then I wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm actually not in Spain or Greece or wherever. And that's really bizarre. It'd be interesting if anyone else experiences stuff like that. I'm sure people do. But yeah, it's quite amazing to me that we don't, as adults, we don't really use our imaginations as much as we should. And I think we should more so, and not just being creative. Just send yourself in a little space somewhere. Just if you like to imagine yourself as a rocket ship pilot when you were a kid, why not do that again? There's no harm in it. I use my imagination to go sleep at night, to be honest. Sarah always asks me how I get sleep so quick, and generally it's because I'm imagining myself doing something. Generally an action hero again. I think I miss my calling as an action hero / stuntman. But yeah, I just imagine sometimes me lying on a beach, chilled on a beach, or sometimes I imagine a scenario like from Die Hard 2, where it's under siege from terrorists, and I am the only person that can save the day. So, and I will literally enact things in my brain and imagine that, and yeah. There's many a times I walk around my house pretending I've got a cocked, loaded weapon, that the terrorists are hiding around the corner, and that I'm gonna storm, and breach a room to clear it. In fact, our CCTV in our house has probably caught some really interesting footage, so Sarah will probably be reviewing that more often. But yeah, just imagination. You've got one. Hope you have, at least anyway. Use it. Regress back to childhood. And, get that imagination going. And write your dreams down as well. Like, I'd be interested. I think I'm going to start a dream diary, actually, just to see if there's any running themes. I forgot the funniest part, and I don't know what this means. But in that fighting dream that I had, people kept saying to me in the dream, Stephen, don't go full Griff. Now, what the hell does that mean? Don't go full Griff. No idea. What is that? Don't go full Griff. Apparently, in my brain, in the dream, it was something that was like super awesome fight mode or something. And they were trying to stop me from doing that. Maybe it was like Hulk mode or something, I don't know. But whatever it was, they were trying to restrain me from doing that. I was doing alright in the fight anyway. I was winning. But apparently, I should not go full Griff, ever. Yeah, how bizarre. So, yeah, imagination, I think I'll talk about toys and stuff at another time and maybe delve back into this, but, you don't have to be like a writer, and you don't have to be a musician. just drift off. If that, meditation's a massive thing nowadays. If that helps you just to relax, just relax and just, use a bit of imagination and just use your brain and be who you want to be, or pretend to be someone else. Well, maybe that's not very good. Yeah, but you know what I mean. Just chill out and use your brain, because there's an amazing thing in there. Maybe it'll unlock something. Maybe while you're doing that, you'll suddenly realize you are a writer, or you come up with an amazing story, and you think actually that's something that could be a film, or that's something that could be a book. Why not? The world is your oyster. And on that note, thank you very much for listening again. I think that probably concludes the second episode of Stephen Speak. It goes super quick for me. I hope it goes just as quick for you. Yes, stay tuned for more episodes. Please follow. I don't know I don't know if you heard that. There was something fell over in my bedroom. This is a really, really polished episode. But thank you very much for listening. If you're one of them people that have listened to the last episode, I'm hoping you're listening now. Please keep giving me feedback. I'm new at this. I hope to get better and better and better. Again, I'm just going to talk about stuff that I like and things that come into my brain. And say the extra speak episodes, that's just a work in progress at the moment. So get me some feedback on that. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Stephen Speak PC. I'm also on Facebook. I've got a Stephen Speak page on Facebook. I'm getting everywhere. So if you go onto there, you'll be able to see some of the stuff I've been talking about. So I'm going to start uploading pictures to do with the podcast. So if I talk about Lego, I'll upload some of my Lego. And if I talk about my motorbike, I'll upload a picture of my motorbike. So you can kind of see in reality what I'm talking about. So I think that'll be helpful for you guys to see what I'm actually talking about rather than using your own imaginations. Ironic, eh? I've just told you to use your imaginations and I'm telling you not to. Well, that's probably the best way to close this episode. Thank you very much, everyone, and I will see you on the next one. You've been listening to Stephen Speak Podcast. I'd appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button.